that we live in a broken, dangerous world. We live in a world where our energy practices are out of date, unfair, and causing widespread harm. We live in a world where far too many people accept this as normal. It isn't. Fossil fuels are the dirty energy of the past. We need to look to the future and embrace the use of clean, renewable energy. Today's the day that we demand, not ask, demand that our governor and the Florida legislature switch us to 100% renewable energy as quickly as possible. And as we switch to renewable energy, we demand, not ask, demand a just transition for everybody, especially the poor and people of color. This is climate justice. We also celebrate and praise all our leaders who are compassionately taking steps to help Floridians respond to the crisis. Today are 6 of these leaders who will share their commitments to address the climate crisis. 2 of them are bravely, despite powerful opposition, asking their fellow legislators to support renewable energy legislation. One is leading our community through uncharted territory to renewable energy with a focus on helping everyone make the transition. One is using the power of her office to help the least of these survive extreme heat. And one is using her faith in her pulpit to call for climate justice. The youngest is rallying students to act. They embody climate justice. Today, people all over the world, joined by the power and strength of their faith and their shared belief that we are called to love our neighbors, are demanding climate justice. The time to be silent is over. Climate justice is a right. It's a necessity, and it should no longer be denied. And now our opening prayer is by Reverend Margaret Fox, our new pastor at First Presbyterian Church. She has both a law degree and a Master of Divinity from Yale and a Master of Theological Studies from Harvard. And she came to us from First Presbyterian Church in Perrysville, Ohio, and we're very glad. Margaret?
Thank you, Pam. I am grateful to be here with you all today. Some familiar faces, some people I haven't yet had a chance to meet. As we begin our meeting today, I would ask you to pray with me. Let us pray. Holy One, we give you thanks for the universe you have created, for the great, vast enormity of the cosmos, for the rich and varied beauty of our small corner of it. We thank you for the gift of life in all its diverse and manifold forms, and we thank you for the gift of understanding. O great Creator, we confess that we have not honored the gift of your creation. We've threatened life and landscape, imperiled habitats and ecosystems, polluted waterways and air. We've put our own comforts and concerns before the health and flourishing of our only earthly home and the most vulnerable among us. We've been destroyers of your creation and perpetrators of injustice. Turn us aside from this path of destruction. Restrain our selfish impulses. Teach us to cooperate with each other and with you, and give justice to those who have suffered the most from the harm that has happened to our planet. Help us to honor your creation. Help us to act before it is too late. We thank you for this day and for this chance to gather in all the diversity of our faith. Help us to lift our voices in discussion and to ring our bells to sound the alarm. Open our ears and our minds. Turn our hearts toward you. Bless our time together and bless our broken world. We lift these prayers to you in your sacred name. Amen.
Thank you.
Amen. Thank you. That was just beautiful. So glad that you're with us. And Thanks again to everyone who has joined us. We have a great group of people on our Zoom, and it just continues to grow. So we're just really excited to have this chance to celebrate all of the action that is happening already with climate justice, and to just hopefully inspire you all to take the next step to get more involved. It is my great honor to introduce to you my friend and a pastor in the United Methodist Church here in Tallahassee, Reverend Latricia Scriven. She is pure joy in all that it embodies. And I've had such a wonderful time doing projects with her, and we have a lot to come too. So Reverend Latricia Scriven is the pastor of New Life United Methodist Church in Tallahassee, and the pastor and director of Impact at FAMU Wesley Foundation at Florida A&M University. She is passionate about empowering women, strengthening marriages, and supporting marginalized and vulnerable populations. She has lived into her passion by engaging in social justice advocacy, by serving on the board of directors of Wisdom Wellspring, a residential community whose mission is to equip women with wisdom to responsibly transform their lives and community, and by partnering with her husband to lead safe conversations workshops for couples and small groups. She is married to her phenomenal husband, Dr. Daryl Scriven, and they have 3 wonderfully talented children, Destiny, Faith, and Samuel Scriven. So with that, Reverend Scriven, I will turn it over to you.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Cara. So I'm going to jump right in, and I love to laugh, giggle, smile at all things, and I wish this was one of those moments, and yet it is not. I recall feeling like, as I was thinking about climate justice, it seems like it was yesterday, although I was about 5 years young, when I remember walking into the living room and looking out of our sliding glass black door and literally squealing, "Mommy, outside is on fire," right? Can you imagine? There was red and orange flames all over the place. Dark smoke seemed like it was rising to the heavens. And the only thing my brain, right, at that age could comprehend was that the whole outside was on fire. What was actually happening is that one of the hundreds of gigantic petroleum-filled drums that I passed by pretty much every single day had blown up near our neighborhood. It wasn't the first time, it wouldn't be the last time, but it caused mass evacuation from people who really could not afford to just be away from their homes at some unknown amount of time. I couldn't imagine what was happening because I was only 5 years old. And I've heard it say, you know, if you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen. But what do you say to a little girl who's standing outside and the entire kitchen is blowing up because people and power structures at the highest levels don't seem to want to make the right kinds of decisions? At that time, I didn't know then what I know now, and that is that I grew up on the cusp of what has become known as Cancer Alley. And that's an 85-mile stretch of land along the Mississippi River from Baton Rouge to New Orleans. And it has more petroleum plants than you can ever imagine, or that should ever even be considered legal. But I guess that's what we get when we begin to have, I don't know, a society that values profits over people. We get Cancer Alley. And if you're me, not only do you get Cancer Alley, but you get a mom who was recently diagnosed with 4th stage ovarian cancer. You get her sister, my aunt, who was diagnosed with a 4th stage rare blood cancer. And they get 3 siblings who have all died of 3 different forms of cancer. There are 8 of them all together, in ways that we know are connected directly to the environment, but can't absolutely prove, and how many people would care anyway. And so now I'm no longer in Louisiana, right? I find myself in Florida, and some may say that's not our issue, that's Louisiana. Here we are in Florida. But as was just said, I am married to an amazing guy who's a dean, and he's really handsome and cute. And he grew up, however, in Jacksonville, Florida, in between 2 housing projects. And as we've talked over the years, what I learned was that he played on the playground that he later found out was a toxic waste dump. And right across the street was an abandoned Chevron plant. So it's no wonder to me why his sister, my sister in love, was also diagnosed with cancer a few years ago. We are literally destroying the world and everyone in it and everything in it. And I think that until we make an informed decision to do otherwise, as long as we're making informed decisions to do nothing or very little, we are the ones that are responsible for setting an entire planet on fire. We've got to do better. We need to do better. We're here to demand, right, that we do better and that we transition to renewable energy and provide a safer place for all of us, because we know that there are alternatives. And so we're calling for climate justice. And Pamela McVitie has said in an op-ed, we use the phrase climate justice because it embraces the principle that all people and communities are entitled to equal protection from the ravages of climate change. See, we know that in every major disaster, the most vulnerable people among us generally suffer the most because of where they live, because of limited resources and income, and lack of access to healthcare. I mentioned earlier that my mom has 4th stage ovarian cancer. Usually I've been living in Louisiana now with her, and I just come back and visit Tallahassee because I'm taking her to her chemo treatments. And most recently, during the winter storm, it became so apparent to me who was affected by these unnatural disasters. We had to somehow make it, and we did through snow and sleet and all of these unnatural things. Finally got to the chemo treatment center where no one was available because the nurses could not get through the weather. When someone finally showed up, a room that's usually filled with about 15 people only had 4. Because it spoke to who had the means to actually make it and who did not. Who had the means to stay an extra day because they couldn't go to the hospital for an additional treatment, and who could not. Who had to rely on public transportation and there was none. This was a direct result of what we are doing to the climate. So I agree with Pamela when she says things like, we are tired that the poorest people seem to lose their power first in disasters like these and the last to have them restored. We're tired that vendors in Miami have to work outdoors and are experiencing kidney damage because of the extreme heat. We're tired that African Americans are almost 10 times more likely than whites to die from asthma that's made worse from higher temperatures. And we are sick and tired of being sick and tired that our children and our grandchildren and their children are being left a dangerous and unhealthy planet where toxic waste dumps become playgrounds and their backgrounds and backyards rather are literally being set on fire. We have the power to do more now. So why are we here today joining with people all over everywhere, all over the nation, calling for climate justice and things to be done? I believe we're here because our faith compels us into action. I believe that some of us are here because we embrace this as God's creation and we want to be co-creators of a better future. I believe that many of us are here because we believe that this is what it means to love our neighbors, our siblings, our friends, and to care for the least of these. When we advocate for justice, I believe we're saying that Black lives matter. When we advocate for climate justice, I believe we're saying that blue lives matter, all lives matter, Republicans, Democrats, independents, lives matter, birds, trees, fish, seas, their lives matter. We are saying to the elementary children who are watching through the window outside what's happening, that your life matters. We're saying to the people who are dying in Cancer Alley that we see you and your life matters. So that's it. We're here to demand to do better because we know that engaging in climate justice is honoring that what God did in the beginning continues through us today. That's all.
Amen. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm so sorry for your family's pain, and it is a travesty what has happened to our land and our people. But we are here together and we are going to continue to live into our moral call and our faith to fight this. And so grateful for your testimony. Thank you. I got
Thank
chills. Wow. Thank you. So inspiring. Yes, the comments are blowing up. Show some love in the comments. You can do some reactions. We are so blessed to hear that message, and I hope it really just embeds into our hearts, because that's what this work is about. It's about loving people and loving God's creation. So thank you again. I have another great opportunity to share with you one of those young people who this is impacting the most, because she's going to be here much longer than we are. Charlotte Tilley is a wonderful advocate for climate justice. And I met Charlotte when she was just 13, and she went out to the Capitol steps, the Florida Capitol steps, for Fridays for Future, because she was inspired by Greta Thunberg and the thousands and maybe, gosh, millions of youth all over the world who have seen and understood the science so much better than many adults have, and who have said, this isn't okay. This isn't all right. Why isn't anybody fixing this problem, adults? Well, if you're not going to fix it, then I guess we're going to have to strike from school to make a statement. And so Charlotte did. She got her friends with her out at the Capitol, and some adults came out to cheer them on and hold signs with them. And so I'm just really so excited to introduce you to Charlotte. She is a homeschooled high school sophomore who has been active in climate advocacy since the 8th grade. After leading school strikes and demonstrations outside of the Florida Capitol building, she became an intern at the Clio Institute, where she has continued her climate work and engages with other youth activists in the climate activism community. In her free time, she enjoys learning French and spending time in nature. Charlotte, I'll turn it over to you.
Hi, thank you so much. My name is Charlotte Stewart Tilley. I'm a homeschooled sophomore in high school and a Gen Clio strategist with the Clio Institute. I used to hold strikes in the Florida Historic Capitol building steps, and I've worked with climate organizations from all over the state and country. When I was little, I knew what climate change was. I don't actually remember a time in my life where I didn't know about climate change, and I'm sure some other people my age don't remember well either. We have known the science of anthropogenic climate change for decades now, and politicians and other irresponsible adults in charge continue to ignore it. It isn't the time yet, they say to us. What about the economy? The thing is, if now isn't the time, when is it? If a massive planetary crisis isn't important, then what is? Enter me in 8th grade. I had read a few articles in The Guardian about Greta Thunberg, and I checked the news almost obsessively about her. The idea of holding a strike of my own had crossed my mind, but I figured I didn't know enough about protesting to lead one myself. But I knew my mom did. She had held a counter protest against a group of white supremacists in years past, and I came to her with my idea. With my parents' help, I reserved a slot on the Capitol steps and worked with other more experienced climate activists to bring people together. 100 people came, and every other week, whether it was just me, 3 people, 30 people, or 300 people, I sat on the steps with my sign. I got so used to making those reservations that I could fill the forms out in my sleep, and the front desk lady at the Historic Capitol Museum knew me by name. And every time I sat on those steps or in the lawn below, there were people that drove by that flashed angry gestures at me, screamed profanities, yelled campaign slogans, and flat out tried to argue with me about the validity of climate change. I had people come up to me, and once someone tore up a sign. But for every loud, angry naysayer, there were 5 support honks, or words of encouragement. Once, a group of missionaries came up to me and offered to pray with me to stop carbon emissions. Even though sometimes it may feel like half the country will stay quiet or violently ignore the facts the way they have been doing, I don't believe this is actually true. I'm a firm believer that knowledge is power. After all, without knowledge from Greta Thunberg and my mom about climate science or protesting, I would have never started striking. Imagine if every climate procrastinator in the world read the same science I happened to stumble upon. How many more powerful activists would we have? Young people may seem like the most powerful group of activists, and sometimes I agree with that. But this is only because the world rests on our shoulders. The burden of carrying around over a century's worth of carbon emissions, tied up with centuries worth of systemic and overt racism. Even though this burden is hard to carry, like the tale of the Greek god Atlas holding the world on his shoulders, we carry it for survival. I would like to take this time, though, to remind you that young people do not deserve this burden. And you too, with your unique gifts, opportunities, voice, and power, you can make a difference too, even if you feel too old to create change. We are all at a turning point in time. We have begun to see the light at the end of the pandemic tunnel, and if you're like me, you're already starting to think a little bit about life post-COVID. This is the time for us to mobilize and begin making structural change. This is the time for us to remember that we are in a global crisis, one that goes beyond anything we've ever seen before. Now is the time to act, to understand that if we don't stop it, perhaps nobody else will. We have to show others our science, show others our community, and show them how important it is to be civically engaged and involved in climate justice. According to theories connected with the Drake equation, there is only a 1 in a million chance that a perfect planet like Earth could have been created. We are all miracles, on a miraculous hunk of dirt and metal that soars through space methodically at roughly 1,000 miles per hour. Now let me ask you, what are you waiting for? Are you really going to let us destroy a miracle for the sake of convenience? Thank you.
Wow, thank you, Charlotte. Let's give Charlotte some love, you guys. Thank you so much. You have been an inspiration to me personally and to so many people. And I have just loved watching you grow into this role. And I know now as a Clio ambassador, you are just reaching so many. So thank you for being here and for your voice.
Thank
Now
you.
a small miracle has happened today. We are actually running early on our schedule. So we are going to show our video from Representative Escamani. So Pam, could you please introduce the video for us?
Happy to. Representative Escamani very much wanted to be with us today, but at the last minute, she of course got her schedule and she has a legislative committee meeting today. She is a Floridian and she is a champion for climate justice and sustainability. And 2019 to 2020, she was ranked as the only lawmaker across the state to vote 100% of the time with the environment. She understands the urgency of the need to protect our state from climate change, and she is the chief sponsor of the House bill that calls for 100% renewable energy by 2040.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. All right, I am going to share my screen and then we will see this video from our awesome representative.
Kara, I'm not sure I can hear the audio on this video. I'm not sure if anyone else is having that problem.
No, can't hear it.
Thank you so much. Let's try that again. I did click the share sound, but perhaps it went away. Technology. Thank you so much for telling me, and let's try that one more time.
Hi there, this is Anna Escamani, State House Representative for District 47, the state legislature, proudly serving Central Florida and a strong advocate for clean energy here in the Sunshine State. For my first two sessions, and now going to my third session, I have filed Florida's 100% Renewable Energy Goals bill. This year it is House Bill 283, which sets a goalpost for Florida to be 100% renewable energy based by 2040 and carbon neutral by 2050. This bill is essential because as a Sunshine State, Florida should be leading the charge on getting ourselves off fossil fuels and tackling the crisis that is climate change. We know that the cost of inaction is huge, and Florida is already feeling the impact of rising sea levels, of rising temperatures, and it's not only impacting our quality of life, but it's impacting our real estate, it's impacting our national security, it's impacting all parts of the world with major intense storms impacting marginalized and vulnerable communities, and whether it's Hurricane Maria in Puerto Rico, Hurricane Irma in the Bahamas, or Hurricane Michael in the Panhandle, we know that storms are getting worse and their impact is clear on all of us, but it's even more damaging to folks who contribute less towards the climate change crisis, but also have so much more to lose. And so taking action in combating climate change should be a priority number one for us. But our bill goes even a step further. Not only does it set these renewable energy goals, but it also creates a workforce development board, a partnership between the Department of Economic Opportunity, Department of Energy here in Florida. It would be an intentional effort to ensure that we have the workforce to actually fulfill these clean energy goals. Part of that workforce board would include an environmental justice voice, because it's really important that if we create new jobs, that those jobs are going to reflect the diversity of the state, and that we're helping make sure that Black and brown people who have been negatively impacted by the impacts of pollution and climate change also get to be a part of this conversation and help lead the change and not be left behind. Our bill would also ban fracking in the state of Florida and end any construction of new fossil fuel infrastructure, because if we're going to actually move away from these old ways of producing energy, then we should stop building into these old ways of producing energy. You might be wondering why these issues are so important to us. And there really is both a moral dilemma that we're facing alongside a serious sense of urgency. From an environmental justice perspective, we've already outlined the fact that inaction leads to some really damaging reactions that impact all of us, but especially those that are already so marginalized, who already are living life on the edge. And whether it's our farm workers who are feeding us and doing their job in very harsh conditions, or it's our climate refugees who come to this state because they've lost their original place to call home. We know that not taking action on climate change is going to continuously create dilemmas for already marginalized people that are not even contributing to climate change as much as everyone else is. So it's really important that we take legislative action on this, because every person in the state is impacted, but everyone in the world is also impacted. And as the Sunshine State, Florida has an opportunity to play a leading role in taking charge and to holding ourselves accountable to a higher standard. There's also a national security dynamic here. The amount of money we spend on wars abroad in areas of oil-rich resources is not only a waste of money at a national level, but it's also damaging our reputation around the world, and it's leading to unnecessary casualties, especially of American troops, where we don't have to continuously make decisions based on where oil is. We can make decisions based on how are we facilitating peace. And we can do that when we can develop our own energy here on the ground in this country and do so in a way that is healthy and safe for surrounding communities as well. The benefits of taking a leadership role in pushing forward towards renewable energy cannot be overstated. And this is not a partisan issue. It truly is bipartisan. We can find partnership among Democrats and Republicans supporting these collective goals. And indeed, in other states around the country, these are bipartisan efforts. And I'm very hopeful that in Florida, we can do the same by telling our stories, by sharing the facts, by pushing not only clean energy, but also energy efficiency, ensuring that they are tied together. This is the greatest country in the world, and we have the potential to be leaders in pushing towards a clean energy economy, in battery storage, in electric vehicles, in public transportation. We have the resources to do that. There's no reason why we shouldn't. So thank you again for your incredible advocacy, for your support of House Bill 283. We're thrilled to file this bill. We're thrilled for the support, and we're to keep fighting to push Florida into the clean energy economy we all need and deserve.
All right, I'm glad that worked. As she mentioned, there is legislation happening right now in the Florida Capitol that is either going to help us with our climate justice efforts, or it's going to put us back. So as we go on in our meeting today, we're going to be sharing with you more opportunities for you to be able to get involved, to raise your voice, to support those good bills, and to help us, deter the ones that will set us back. So I have just been, my heart is just full of being here with you all and having this event happening. So thank you again so much for everyone who's here. And it is my great pleasure to be able to introduce to you a friend of mine, Mayor John Daly, who is the mayor of Tallahassee. And when I was running for the Leon Soil and Water Supervisor Board, he was also running for mayor. So we got to see each other at lots of campaign stops. And since then, he has been a true partner and advocate for making Tallahassee a world-class, sustainable, and green city. And I'm just so grateful for his efforts. And so I'll just tell you a little bit about him. Mayor John Daly has dedicated his professional life to building strong, vibrant communities. The mayor received his bachelor's degree in political science from Florida State University, where he served as president of the Student Government Association. He received his first master's degree in public administration from FSU, and then went on to receive his second master's degree in urban and regional planning from the London School of Economics while serving as an aide in the British Parliament. I didn't know that before I read the bio. That's pretty neat. He returned to Tallahassee in 2005 when he was elected to the Leon County Commission by the citizens of District 3 and was reelected twice without opposition. Mayor Daly was elected as mayor of the city of Tallahassee in 2018. He and his wife, Virginia, have two young boys, Tommy and Henry, and they are members of Faith Presbyterian Church. So without further ado, I would love to welcome you, Mayor Daly.
Hey, Kara, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank
I
you so
think-
much for being with us.
You kidding? I think this event is awesome, and I cannot wait to hear the bells ringing at 11 o'clock this morning. What a great way to bring everybody together. I want to thank you for your leadership. It's great to see all of our friends online. I'm sitting here scrolling through the pages of everyone that's participating, and it really is great to see so many good friends that are participating. It's great to see so many Tallahasseans care and participate as well. And Kara, you're right. We spent a lot of time on the campaign trail together. You're doing an amazing job. You have brought new opportunities for your governing entity and the city of Tallahassee to work together on some great issues. And I just really appreciate it. And by the way, on a side note, I know there's a lot of people statewide that are watching this. I got to tell you, when I drop my son off at Raw Middle School every morning, we are just having the best time watching St. Paul's redo the steeple and how it's been brought down. It's in the parking lot and they're working on it. And it's just been a fascinating process. And I know that your church is really excited about, fixing the steeple and putting it back up. And it's been really fun to watch. On a side note, it's been fun to watch. And you're right. I'm an elder at Faith Presbyterian Church right down the road. Our church is partner on a lot of good initiatives here in Tallahassee, and certainly do appreciate it. To all my friends here in Tallahassee, I want to thank you once again for giving me the opportunity to serve as your mayor. I love this job. I love the city of Tallahassee. And like you, I am dedicated to moving our city forward. And I'm just so proud to be the mayor of the capital city of the state of Florida. And it is an honor to join you and to raise my voice as well for climate justice. This is an issue that is very dear to me, very important to me, very important in my faith as well. And as many of you know, my faith is a central part of my commitment as mayor to ensuring, that Tallahassee leads the way on clean energy every day and on a lot of our social justice issues. In fact, let me remind you that last December 10th on Human Rights Day, I launched a new initiative, All Human Rights Are Local. Obviously, climate justice issues are a very important part of that portfolio, and I look forward, Kara, not only getting you involved, but all members of our community involved with the new mayor's initiative as well. Moving towards clean energy and true environmental sustainability is definitely a justice issue. And for too long, the energy policies across our country have exploited the poor, the marginal, and the disenfranchised. This is nothing new. We are very familiar with this. That is one of the reasons why I'm so proud of our community for getting involved and moving forward. And as people of faith, it is our calling to be good stewards of creation. This is not lost on me or you, or really what you believe in and what you worship. We all have this common bond across all faiths here in our community. I also think that as leaders, it is our responsibility to enact policies that right these historic wrongs and ensure that every resident of our cities, our state, and our nation have clean air, which again, Kara, you have been a true leader on that issue, and I appreciate it, clean water, and most importantly, healthy environments. I am proud that the city of Tallahassee continues to be a true pioneer when it comes to sustainability. In 2019, we joined with our local residents and environmental groups to develop and pass our clean energy resolution. We were one of the first local governments in the nation to do so, which set the goal of 100% net clean renewable energy by 2050. Now, that does not mean that we cannot strive to do better earlier, and we have, but we have set the goal by 2050, including moving our entire fixed route bus fleet and light duty fleet to electric by 2035. And we are well on our way as a city and as a community. Already, 1/3 of our bus fleet is electric. And because we provide the buses for Florida State University, FSU is the first campus in the entire nation with an all-electric bus fleet. I am very proud of that. We need to move forward and set the example for all communities. Compared to 30 years ago, nearly 50% more customer demand. We have more demand, 50% more demand, while producing 20% less CO2 emissions annually. And we have cut our overall permitted emissions by 93%. That is something we should celebrate as a community as we move forward. And I'm here to tell you that as the capital city of the Sunshine State, we are proud that we produce the second most solar energy per capita of any city in the United States, second only to Honolulu, Hawaii. We are number 2, and we want to be number 1 in producing solar energy. That as well is something that we should truly celebrate. Part of our clean energy resolution called for the operating of all city facilities using 100% renewable energy no later than 2035. And I'm proud to tell you that with a flick of a switch a year ago, we beat that goal by 15 years. Did you know that when our second solar farm came online in February of last year, we became the first city in the state of Florida, the first city in the state of Florida to power 100% of our city-owned buildings with solar energy. Now let's take a second and dive deep into that. City Hall, Star Metro, police and fire stations, utility buildings, every brick and mortar building that is part of the city of Tallahassee family, all of our operational services, parks and recreation, our parks, everything is powered by solar energy. We are the only city in the state. And quite honestly, Kara, we're researching to see if we are the first in the Southeast or the first in the nation that completely power all of our municipal buildings by solar energy. That is something to celebrate. And you know, Kara, sometimes we get into this debate about, well, it's too expensive, or how do we do this in a business sense while protecting the environment as well? And let me remind you that we were able to do this. We generate more solar per capita, number 2 in the nation. We power all of our buildings. We were able to do that without raising electric utility rates. Did not hit your pocketbook. We are the example, Kara, that you can do this in an environmentally sound manner that also makes business sense. And we are able to lead in these ways because of our power being publicly owned by the citizens of Tallahassee through the city of Tallahassee. In fact, our 2 solar farms at the Tallahassee International Airport are obviously key to harnessing the power of solar and the utilization of renewable energy source. Together, these 2 facilities sit on 360 acres and generate 60 megawatts. It makes our solar farm the largest airport-based solar farm in the world. Again, we are truly proud to be a pioneering city in our state when it comes to clean energy. And we are committed to continuing to find innovative ways to produce clean energy and to provide a healthy and safe future for all of our families and for our citizens. Now, to achieve this, we must all do our part. And I'm thankful for the leaders here in Tallahassee and across the state that are doing their part. I am so thankful for you here locally and all of our colleagues that we get to work with on these all-important climate issues. I'm thankful on the state level for Commissioner Freed, Senator Berman, Representative Escamani, and I am grateful for all of our faith leaders who are likewise using their positions and voices to show that the state of Florida, that renewable energy is a justice issue and a faith issue. And I love how we continuously tie it together. In closing, I want to thank you for having me on, allowing me to lend my voice to be a part of this amazing group, both locally and across the state. I am so excited for 11 o'clock. I think it is going to be absolutely amazing. And I look forward to walking outside of City Hall and listening to the bells. And I want to remind everybody that together we will create a clean, renewable, and just future for the great state of Florida. Kara, thank you so much for having me on.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Daley. Those were some, yes, everyone give him some love in the chat and the reactions. That was fabulous. And you really shared some stats that I didn't realize. So I'm like taking notes. So thank you so much.
I will tell you that one of the things that we need to work harder on at the city of Tallahassee is tooting our own horn with all of the amazing things that we are doing. I talk to people all across the city and let them know, you do realize we power every municipal facility by solar. I had no idea. You do realize we produce more solar per capita than any other city except for Honolulu. I did not know that. We have the only all-electric bus fleet. Now think of this. We power Star Metro with solar energy. We have an all-electric bus fleet. I could take it a step farther and say, we are the only municipal government that not only provides the only all-electric bus fleet to Florida State, but it is run by solar power electricity as well. We are doing so many amazing things here in Tallahassee, and I, for one, as your mayor, are going to continue to push the city to be pioneers so that we can set the example.
That is fabulous. And with me being really an advocate for air quality, electric buses is a huge step in the right direction. I mean, that is taking so much pollution out of the air. So
Yes,
so many great points. And I promise you, we are going to be doing some follow-up articles from this event, and I will help you get that message out too. I will be happy to help toot the horn of all the great things going on.
Now, Carrie, Jenny and I got married in the Methodist church, but I love all of our friends in the faith community here, but I got to get a shout out. I see a lot of my Presbyterians out there on the call, right?
Amen. Amen. All right. Well, thank you so much, Mayor.
It's great to see everybody.
Yes, great to have you. And we are, as an interfaith community, so just bonded and, inspired over this message of taking care of God's people and God's earth. So grateful for you.
That's what makes Tallahassee so wonderful.
Thank you, sir. All right, wonderful. Well, we are actually still a little bit ahead of schedule. So we have another video. Pam, if you would like to introduce the Senator Berman video, that'd be wonderful.
Happy to, Kara. Senator Berman is another Floridian. She graduated magna cum laude from Tufts University and has a law degree from George Washington University. She has been in the Florida House of Representatives and was elected to the Senate beginning in 2018. She is the policy chair of the Democratic Caucus and serves on a number of legislative committees. She also is the sponsor, she is the sponsor of the Senate companion bill to Representative Escamani's that calls for 100% renewable energy. And she too wanted to be with us today, but of course has a committee meeting scheduled right during our event. So she sent us this recording.
Thank you, Pam. Yes, they are busy doing the work of the people, which we need them to do. So here is the video from Senator Berman.
I'm Lori Berman from Senate District 31, Central Palm Beach County. I'm so honored to join Representative Escamani today in speaking on our bill to require public utilities to generate 100% of Florida's electricity from renewable sources by 2040 and to reach net carbon zero emissions by 2050. Senate Bill 720 and House Bill 283 will do more than set interim goals that create accountability and make sure that we're on track to hit our renewable goals. They will help transition our economy and create thousands of great paying green jobs. I'm very thankful that this event was put together. The vast majority of religions see the ever increasing need for bold action on climate change. As a Jewish woman, I'm reminded that Judaism demands its followers to care for others in an unrelenting effort to repair the world, known as Tikkun Olam. Jewish texts and scholars for thousands of years have emphasized the importance of caring for our land as well, knowing that it's the only one that we have. All faiths understand that we must not destroy our sacred planet, nor ignore the plight of our neighbors, regardless of background and faith. Climate change is so all-encompassing that it must be an all hands-on-deck effort. We must do all we can. Luckily, there are many different solutions that we can address. Our state needs to invest strongly in the necessary infrastructure to mitigate extreme heat, flooding, and attract people to stay and live here, not just visit. We must plan our cities and downtowns with shade, pedestrian and bike-friendly infrastructure, and include more parks to prevent extreme heat islands. We should invest in mass transportation to reduce the emissions we currently produce. The solutions are endless. In South Florida, climate gentrification is displacing thousands of residents from their homes. Land that used to be more affordable due to its further distance from the ocean has become more attractive to wealthy people looking to evade the effects of sunny day and king tide flooding. We must include housing affordability in our assessment of climate change preparation. And we must recognize that those who rent are even susceptible to being forced out of their homes because of skyrocketing rent costs, including because of flood insurance rates. The costs of climate change are not exclusive to mass disasters. Climate change incurs a tangible cost on our economy, increasing the cost of flood insurance and home insurance in Florida, forcing Floridians to carry the burden of infrastructure costs brought by high volume of tourists and the effects of this climate gentrification. Additionally, our development has to be smart. As our population rises, we have to preserve ecosystems like the Everglades, the mangroves, and our aquifer, which all help mitigate natural disasters and provide necessary natural resources to residents and visitors. If we don't plan for smart growth and conservation, the cost of climate change will be even greater than they are now. The opportunity for positive change in our state is here, and it starts with reclaiming our future from climate destruction. Our bills 720 and 283 are the way for Florida to get on track to address climate change.
Okay, great. Thank you, Senator Berman, for your leadership. And we are so grateful that you are there doing the work at the Capitol for us. So now we are going to have an opportunity for you all to actually take an advocacy action. There is a way for us to support those bills that our representatives and senators have introduced and are working so hard on. And our wonderful Christy, the tech background wizard, is going to help talk us through how we're going to do that. So let's go, Christy.
Hi, everybody. So in the chat, I've just put a website that you can click. So a link to a website that you can click. And if you would do that now, go to the chat and go to From Me, Christy. You'll see this link and go ahead and click that. and fill that out right now. It'll just take you a minute. It has all sorts of information that you know, like your name. So it should be quick and easy to fill out. And we just want to make sure you hit submit at the end so that right now we're taking an action, not just sort of taxing our brains with all of this information, but we're actually doing something while we're here on Zoom. So take a minute, and if you're having trouble getting that because it's moved for you, I'm going to put it in one more time, just so it's at the very bottom of your chat.
Thank you, Christy. And what's cool about this form, you guys, is it sends it directly to your own representative and your own senator. So once you put in your address information, it'll be going directly to your elected leaders. And it's a way for you to show support for this 100% renewable energy bill for the whole state of Florida. If we're serious about climate justice, we need to take action now. There's no time to wait. So this is just a really kind of fun and easy and painless way that you can let your voice be heard right now in support of the senator and representative's bill. So once you've filled that out, go ahead and click submit, and then come on back to the Zoom and just give us a thumbs up when you've completed that and you're back with us. Okay, great. Well, I appreciate all of you taking that action. And if you didn't get a chance to finish it, that's fine. You can go and do it later. But now you know where it is. And I'm not sure how many of you are comfortable with advocating with your members of the legislature. But, you know, I want to just talk a little bit about that because I've been doing a lot of that lately. I just actually spent a whole lobby day yesterday online with Rethink Energy Florida, where we had meetings set up with our representatives and senators online. And it was such a cool way to just share with them. And for me personally, from a faith perspective of why we care about energy and climate bills in that are going through the legislature right now. These elected officials work for us, and it is completely appropriate for us to let them know what we care about. So I wanted to encourage you all to find who your representative and senator are. There's very easy ways. If you just Google find my Florida rep or find my Florida leader, they will give you the phone numbers, the email addresses, and then form a relationship with those offices. You can call and leave a message on voicemails. You can email, you can send handwritten letters, which is honestly a great way to get their attention because it shows you took a minute to write a letter about something you care about. Once COVID's over, even go visit them. It's really important as people of faith that we communicate that we care about this issue. I was lucky enough to go to Madrid in 2019 to COP25, which is the UN climate conference. And I was lucky enough, I was a Christian observer, so I got to meet with the US delegation there, including Nancy Pelosi and all of the high-level senators and representatives that were there. And the one thing they told us was they are not hearing enough from people of faith about climate action and climate justice and environmental issues, and to help them, give them the political will that they need to be able to act. So I would encourage you all to put your leaders' numbers in your cell phones, call them weekly. It sounds scary, but it's really not, because most of the time you're just leaving a message. And if you're talking to someone, it's an aide who that's their job to talk to you, but they will keep track of what you said and they will give that to the members. So just a quick plug on getting active with lobbying and communicating with your leaders. So I just wanted to hand it over to Pam for our next very important speaker.
Keep forgetting to unmute on time or ahead of time. Well, it's my distinct honor and pleasure to introduce our Commissioner of Agriculture and Consumer Services, Nikki Fried. She is the first elected female commissioner of agriculture in our state. And at some point, Commissioner Freed, I'd like to know how you did that. She is a lifelong Floridian. She's an attorney and she's a passionate activist. The Department of Agriculture has many, many responsibilities, but one of them that most people aren't aware of is that the State Energy Office is in the Department of Agriculture. And I'm proud to say and pleased to say that through this program, she's overseen the development of a campaign to protect migrant workers from extreme heat. Surely these are the least of these. These are the people that we often don't recognize the significance of, the people who pick our food. But they have a high rate of getting sick and ending up in hospitals around the state because of their exposure to heat. Commissioner Freed was born and raised in Miami, and she graduated from the University of Florida with a bachelor's and a master's in law degree. She was student body president, which is very impressive, and she is a member of Florida Blue Key, the oldest and most prestigious leadership honorary in Florida. And I have to tell you that our finest governors in the state of Florida all came from Blue Key. Nikki Freed, as an attorney, has worked in the public defender's office. She's worked in private practice. She defended homeowners against foreclosure in 2007 to 2008 during the housing crisis. And she has worked to protect our children at risk. And she's worked for the expansion of patient access to medical marijuana. Commissioner Freed, it's all yours. And thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, thank you so much for having me today and for all the work that you are doing on behalf of our state. And advocacy work is so critical and so crucial right now, even more so this legislative session, because as you may know, the Capitol is still closed. Which means that typically in a legislative session, people come and they storm the Capitol and they talk to their legislators and they advocate on behalf of their groups. And the Capitol is just filled with energy of people coming and seeing democracy up close and personal. And really that interaction between your elected officials and your constituents is imperative to make sure the democracy works. And so right now, the fact is that it's very hard to be in contact with your legislators because the Capitol is closed. There are limited testimony and people are having to testify across the street. So your interaction with your elected officials is even more critical now than it ever has been, just because of those additional barriers. So thank you for the work that you are doing on behalf of the state of Florida and on behalf of our environment. Just kind of, again, a little bit of what Pam was saying is that Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services has an opportunity to be at the forefront of caring for the environment and tackling some of the most important issues, including climate change. So we are actively working on protecting our air, our water, our lands, our wetlands, coasts, and waterways, and mitigating the threat of climate change. We do believe that this is the challenge of our generation and that we must win and overcome this challenge. Florida needs commitment to greater energy equity and efficiency. We know that there is more flooding, there's more severe events and extreme heat. It is felt mostly and more severely by our communities of color, our low income, and our migrant workers. I mean, as you heard, I grew up in Miami, so I lived through Hurricane Andrew, and we all thought that was going to be a once in a lifetime storm. But unfortunately, we see it here in the state of Florida every single year. The storms are intensifying, the frequency of them, and the amount of times that it's actually making landfall. And so this is definitely all contributed to some of the impacts that we are seeing on our climate. And as mentioned, one of the major issues that we tackled, and especially during COVID last year, is heat illness. And so we put together a campaign to really not only educate people, but to help to prevent it. Our agricultural workers die from heat-related illnesses at a rate 20 times greater than the general US workforce, with more than 600 Americans dying every single year. And so we are proud to launch this bilingual heat illness prevention campaign to help protect our farm workers who feed our families, our neighbors in the world. Every single year, the food that is produced here in the state of Florida feeds 150 million people across the entire United States. So not only is it important that we are protecting these individuals, but it is important that we do so for their own healthcare and their own livelihood, but also ours. Without them, we wouldn't have food on our plates. We wouldn't have an opportunity to have economic development here in our state. Agriculture is the second largest economic driver. And during COVID, it's been number one. And it's also national security. If we have to rely on foreign countries to provide our food, we're relying on them too much for our own personal basic needs. So these are things that we have got to put as a priority. And leaders must mitigate efforts of climate change to limit the dangers of this to begin with. And education on the signs and encouraging really these precautions to keep everybody safe was a real priority of ours. Protecting our farm workers and Floridians requires multifaceted climate justice strategies, dealing with emissions, energy efficiency, innovation, renewables, climate education. It is all of this. And unfortunately, we in the state of Florida have not been really advancing these issues. We hosted 2 years ago now, the first in almost 2 decades, the Climate and Energy Summit. So 2 decades, it took us to get back together to start talking about what is happening in our state and how we can really forge relationships across, this is not a Republican, this is not a Democratic issue. This is a human issue that we all need to really putting our attention on and start making enormous strides moving forward. So just in closing, want to just continue telling you that I am committed to fighting this climate change today. As I am when I was first seeking office, this is just as important, and we are making tremendous strides inside of our department. But we need allies and we need partners and friends all across the state to stand up with us and to make this a priority for not just the people of the state of Florida, but those that have the opportunity to pass legislation. So we will continue innovating and improving our water, our energy, our environmental programs, and policies inside of the department, because the future of our state, the future generation, it depends on us being leaders today. So thank you everyone today for your advocacy, your compassion, and together we are going to preserve the state for everyone and to make sure that we keep Florida growing. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Freed. I'm Kara Fleischer. So nice to meet you in person. I've been following you and I'm so grateful for all your work. Everyone give Commissioner Freed some love. And I'm not sure if you're able to take any questions, but we do have a period here for some question and answer. If you have a question, could you please use your reaction button and raise your hand, and Christy can call on you. And Pam, would you like to moderate this part?
Happy to. I have to go through the screens here to see if anybody has their hand up.
Well, and also I thought we could maybe continue the conversation while Christy is looking for the hands.
Oh, okay, Christy's looking for the hands. Well, Commissioner Freed, thank you so very much. I have to say, I've been working on climate change issues for 20 years, and you are the rare, highly placed elected official who cares and is compassionate, is taking action. Without all of us in the field here asking you to, I have to tell you, I was so impressed when I discovered your website and saw that you had this campaign for migrant farm workers, because heat, as you know, is really a silent killer. And it's probably, of all the ways that Florida is being impacted by climate change, heat is it is the most deadly issue for us. More people die from extreme heat than flooding and other disasters combined. And of course, it's only going to get worse in Florida. And I saw that we have some questions now.
Sure. So we're going to move to Greta, then Dennis Howard, and then Thomas Spalding. So those will be our first three.
I do only have a couple of minutes. I have a national interview at 11, so I just want to, sorry. So I just have a couple of minutes.
My question is, who are the key people that we really need to contact besides our reps? Who are the
Oops, Greta, you're muted.
But I'm assuming you were asking who outside of your electeds, who kind of helping to make decisions. that would be really leadership. So that would be Speaker Sprawls and Senate President Wilton Simpson. Those are two that really need to, they are leadership. They're the Senate President and Speaker of the House. They are the ones that are most critical in moving any of this legislation. We not only, I saw you were talking about Lori Berman's bill, but we have some other really comprehensive energy and climate packages as well that have not moved. And again, this should never be a partisan issue. This should be us working together, bipartisan support. Climate issues don't just impact Democrats or Republicans. So this should be something that we should have bipartisan support on. But unfortunately, we just have not seen that collaboration as of today.
Dennis, can you go with your question?
Yes, and it kind of follows up on what you were just saying, Commissioner. I was just really wondering how we can make this more of a bipartisan effort. Climate change seems to have gotten polarized like so many other things, but do you see a path forward for reaching out from one side to the other to make things possible?
I do. And the reason why I do is because of all you. The voters have been making this a priority. Every single time that there has been, look, even at my race, I made the environment a very critical part of, my campaign, where my opponent had not been as, in his 8 years in the legislature, had not been as climate and energy and environmentally savvy. And it hurt him significantly. And so we're starting to see that, even the other side of the aisle, that they're realizing. And what we've seen too is groups popping up on our coastlines, like Captains for Clean Water, which is typically a very more Republican-based group that are talking about environmental issues and the impact. So it's finding kind of those, grassroots groups that are either nonpartisan or happen to lean more conservative, that will help to really engage the electeds on this. So we have seen some of that movement, but they still are kind of tiptoeing about it. The only piece of legislation that I really have seen move is dealing with sea level rising, which is of course a very important issue down in South Florida and certainly in Monroe County and Dade. But that is the tip of the iceberg, no pun intended, of what is happening. And so I think that unfortunately, because it's become so hyper partisan, that there's not as much education on one side of the aisle on some of these issues. So they kind of touch the surface because they don't really know where to go to next. So I think a lot of this comes to education and finding some of those champions that are willing to work together. And we are certainly, doors always open in my world. I would love to work together with whoever is willing to come to the table and have these conversations.
Time for Thomas, and that will be our last question because I know be wary of your time.
Hi, Commissioner Freed. Hi, Commissioner Freed. Thank you so much for your leadership in the state of Florida. And I'm a retired farmer, organic farmer, vegetable and livestock farmer from Illinois that's now in Tampa for the last 3 years. And I'm interested. About half the problem for climate comes from emissions, but the other half is really from destruction of soils over the last 100 years since industrialization. And regenerative agriculture, all forms, needs to be at the front of our fight against climate, because just doing the emission stopping is not going to get us to where we need to be to reverse global warming. And I'm wondering what kind of things are you advancing at the state level that we can support that would move regenerative agriculture forward as a big part of the solution to reversing global warming?
100%. We know that agriculture contributes to about 10% of those emissions. And so what we have done is not only in part of our package that we are promoting, the one I was just talking about, but we also are working with the federal government. And I don't know if you already saw some of the reports that are coming out of the USDA and nationally is talking about carbon farming and using different types of techniques to protect the soil and to make sure that we are not releasing carbon. And so part of that is different types of precision agriculture, water conservation, but also using different types of cover crops to be utilized to help to rebuild the soil into the land. So this is something that is in our package, something that we are promoting, something that we are really talking a lot about, and creating tax incentives too for our farmers to be utilizing these different types of techniques so that they're not tilling the soil as often, that they're actually planting things that are going to keep the carbon inside of the soil and actually be able to rebuild the soil because of the destruction at the time. So we are working with the federal government. It's in our plan. We're talking a lot about carbon farming, explaining to people what that means and what that does. And it creates another alternative crop for our farmers as well. So it really is a win-win situation, both for the environment, for getting our soil back into a better quality soil, and then another alternative crop when our farmers are actually planting cover crops to help with the soil. The other thing that we're doing too is that we are asking for money both from the federal government and the state government on tree planting programs. Again, this is another opportunity for a lot of our farmers farmers and local and state governments to utilize additional monies to actually plant trees all over the state of Florida. It is a great opportunity for, again, our farmers to utilize another crop on their land. We know how much we lost $1.3 billion in the timber industry after Hurricane Michael. And the timber industry was so essential, not only for the economic development of the Panhandle, but for the ecosystem of the Panhandle, with they able to, how it captures the carbon and the oxygen and everything that goes into, the reforestation. So this is something that has absolutely been a priority of ours, is to make sure that we are reforesting the Panhandle, that we are getting more trees in the ground, and that we are pushing carbon farming and carbon sequestration as much as possible, and talking about and educating people about the situation.
I know we have one more hand up, and we don't want to make you late. Ms. Swim, do you have like a 2-second quick question that we could end with, or are we thanking the commissioner for being with us?
You're muted.
No, I just wanted to hear about regenerative agriculture, so we're good.
Terrific. Thank you all for your questions. It was wonderful. And thank you for your time and answering them, spending a little extra time with us. That has been a delight.
Absolutely. Thank you again for everything that you guys are doing. And certainly if there's additional questions or you want access to my office as far as just ideas and kind of things that are popping in and out from us, don't ever hesitate. Yes, Rabbi, happy Pesach to you too. So certainly if there's anything that you need from our office, know that you have a champion in us in Tallahassee, and we'll continue to be partners in this climate crisis fight. So, and climate justice, and even more importantly. So, thank you.
Commissioner, this has been absolutely excellent. We're going to have to get you back and make you the star, the center attraction of another program. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a great day, everyone. Be safe out there.
Thank you. Wow, what a great lineup we've had today. I can't repeat enough how my heart is so full from hearing from so many different voices. We have about 5 minutes for any extra questions that anyone might have, or any issues you might want to raise. We still have some of our speakers on the call. So if you have anything you'd like to share or any questions, Christy will.
Right, Kara, there were a lot of questions being generated when Mayor Daley was speaking about where folks can look, maybe on the city website, or where they can look about the sort of energy efficiency and municipal buildings. So anyway, I know we have to get back to people on that. They've listed their emails, but that's been a big question. And I see that Greta has her hand up.
Is the mayor still on, or no? I don't think that he is, but the city has a sustainability department online, and then also you can reach out to them, but we will take all of your questions and send them to the appropriate speaker so we can hopefully get them answered for you. I'm also good. Yeah.
Before Greta asks her question, I just wanted you all to know that Thomas Whitley, who works with Mayor Daley, was noting all the questions for the city. So I know we'll be getting more information.
Excellent.
So Greta, would you like to?
Yeah, I just wanted to follow up on my last question. I mean, I hear people like the governor of Texas talk about how they can never, they have to protect their energy industry. And what is a good website that talks about the economics of this and that the transition, what happens economically in the transition from the fossil fuel industry and the people that are unemployed to the jobs that are created. What is a good website that talks about that?
I can maybe take that one.
Yeah.
Kathy Castor, who is a U.S. representative, she's also the chair of the Select Committee on Climate, and they have a complete proposal that has been written about how we transition, and you can find that online. We might be able to drop it into the chat or follow up with that, but it is the Select Committee on the Climate Crisis, I believe, and it's for the House of Representatives. So I would recommend getting that. It's excellent. There's summaries, but it's also a very thorough document. And that's what I've been using as kind of a reference. There's also lots of amazing nonprofits out there. There's Climate Reality, that's run by Al Gore. There's Citizens Climate Lobby that focuses on a carbon fee and dividend, but they have lots and lots and lots of information about how this would transition in a just way. One of my other favorites is Yale Climate Communications, and they do a lot of polling of citizens of the United States and then break it down by map and by district. So you can get some really good information about what public opinion is.
Some great information's going on in the chat. So Tally 100, that website is there. I know that you all are putting some helpful information in the chat. So if you're not looking at that, go ahead and start to scroll through it. I see Richard Jordan's hand up.
Thanks. Just very briefly, Kathy Castor is a U.S. congressional representative. So her website would be for the U.S. House of Representatives and not the state of Florida, I think. Am I correct?
Yes, you are.
Yes, I thought that's what I said, but if I got it mixed up, pardon me.
You didn't say U.S., you said House of Representatives. So as a New Yorker who's been in Florida for just a year, it can be a little confusing what house you're talking about.
Absolutely, thank you. All right, we have maybe time for 2 more. Looks like Margaret found the document, so check that out too. That's
I'll share it.
That's in the chat. Okay. Yes, Pam?
Oh, Greta, I will call you and follow up on that issue of the jobs transition. It was an issue that was a problem for our General Assembly a couple years ago about the loss of the jobs for people in Texas in the fossil fuel industry. So I'll be happy to chat with you about that.
Okay, great. And now we are coming close to our 11 o'clock hour. People all over the world are recognizing climate justice today, and 11 o'clock is the magic hour where things start to happen, actions start to happen, and that's when we are going to be ringing our bells here in Tallahassee, blowing our shofars, people singing out in the streets. There's people in front of the Capitol right now ringing bells. We've notified all the legislators that we're doing this, so if they hear bells today outside, through the windows of the Capitol, that we're calling on them to hear our call for climate action. So thank you again for being with us. I would like to have our last speaker, and well, he's actually going to say our closing prayer. I'm going to introduce my friend, Reverend Brandon Winstead, and I was friends with his wife in MOPS way back when. So it's been wonderful to reconnect with him. He is going to give us our closing prayer, and I'm just going to tell you a little bit about Reverend Winstead. He served on a variety of urban and suburban ministry settings across the United States and in several denominations and nonprofit organizations. He currently serves as associate minister as the Bethel AME Church in Tallahassee. He's written and presented on African American religious history in the 20th century, the historical impact of racism on youth ministry practice, and the relationship between food and the faith development of young people. He loves to garden with his family and place mulch around the grounds of their backyard orchard. I love that line. So Reverend Winstead, I would love to invite you to close us in prayer, and then we have an action after that, so don't go away, but this is how we're going to close in prayer now. Hope he's with us. Is he still with us, Christy?
You just
Sorry,
needs to
can you hear me
unmute.
now?
There, okay.
Yeah, sorry. I just want to say briefly thank you for everyone on all your work and all the great things you're doing. And I know that there are bells to ring, so I just don't want to keep us too long. I will conclude us in our closing prayer so that you can proceed forward with the important work of ringing your faith community's noise in your local neighborhood, because it needs to happen. So let's go and do that now, and I will conclude us in prayer. Thank you very much for allowing me to pray with you. Creator, we are thankful for all that you give us. We are reminded that we are not as independent as we so assume, but that, as your prophet Wendell Berry has reminded us, there is no such thing as autonomy. There is only responsible and irresponsible dependence. And so, Lord, in that confession and in that prayer, we pray that this time together will be a reflection of that responsible dependence. As we go about in our collective work, in our personal and in our communal settings, may we do the work that you have called us to do on behalf of your creation, on behalf of all creation, both plants, animals, and ourselves, for we realize that we are indeed all in this together, and our work must be on behalf of all of that which you have created. So we pray that as we go forth, that we will challenge others and challenge ourselves to live responsibly, to eat responsibly, to garden responsibly, to farm responsibly, and to live responsibly with all that you have created. Give us that now, we pray, as we go forth. Amen.
Thank you. And we hear the bells ringing. Is that from First Presbyterian, Christy?
Yes, yes.
The
But
bells
there are
ringing.
other church bells going that started, they're just further away.
Excellent. And I wanted to share with you all that we are also making sacred sounds. So it doesn't have to just be bells. It can be blowing the shofar, ringing the gong, or also playing music. And some folks have already sent me their videos of their sacred sounds today, and I put them together in a little video to show you. And our encouragement is, after this, you go make your own sacred sound, do a 15-second video, and then put it on social media with the hashtag Ring the Bells for Climate. And that way we can gather them all together, and we're going to send them to our legislators. So now let me show you some of the great things that we have been sent, and we'll be able to celebrate all of them with you. Let me get my share screen going here. Okay.
You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. You never know, dear, how much I love you. So please don't take my sunshine away. Black butterfly, fly, fly, fly. Black butterfly, fly, fly, fly. Black butterfly, if anybody wants to save this big blue ball, if anybody wants to save this big blue ball, if anybody wants to save this big blue ball, 'twould be the Heavenly Father, the Creator of us all.
So listen to the bells and be inspired to make your own sacred sound. You can email it to me and post it on social media with the hashtag. And I'm going to put both of those things in the chat right now. And then Pam, maybe you could help close us out.
Well, I think you've gotten the message today that we've got serious problems with climate change and it's hurting the least of these. I think you've heard that our community is leading the way, that there is a way to switch in a just way to renewable energy, and we happen to live in the community that's doing that. And I think that it's never been more imperative than it is now to send our governor and legislature repeated emails and letters asking, begging, demanding that they switch us to renewable energy. What you didn't hear today is that there are a lot of bad energy bills out there right now. They're bills that actually make it impossible for local governments like ours, they're even retroactive. They're saying that we can't do renewable energy, that we can't have programs locally to cut greenhouse gas emissions. I don't want you to focus on those because the environmental groups are working hard on those. Stay focused on the positive, the legislation that moves us into the future for clean, renewable energy. And a special, special thanks for all of you taking time from your busy schedules to be with us today. Now, go forth and do good things. Bye.
Thank you. And remember to pray. People of faith, that's our superpower. Remember to pray for our leaders and for the earth. God bless you, be with you, and we hope to see you soon. Bye. You can unmute and say goodbye if you'd like.
Bye.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Wonderful.
Great
Bye-bye.
Goodbye, everyone. Thank you.
Nice to see all your smiling faces.
Yes, thank you so much for being here. Join us on Facebook at Tallahassee Green Faith Alliance if you'd like to stay in touch.
Oh, there's a bell.
Yes.
Christy, let's hear it. Yay. Thank you, Greta. Yes, for the next 5 minutes, we're going to have more bells down in downtown Tallahassee. Thank you to Pam for dreaming up this wonderful idea and giving me the opportunity to work with you on this event. It's been a joy.
Thank you, of course, Kara.
And Christy for all your behind the scenes.
Yes. From posters to leadership on Zoom. Thank you, Christy.
We all know that I am not the tech person here, so.
We made a good team. I love hearing the bells out your window.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fantastic. I don't want to leave.
Well, those guys are working pretty hard over there.
I was gonna say,